children, but I know that there must be guilt that probably sets in, you know, and that you're away from them, and how you balance that. Because in some sense, your project is also another child. I know for Film Courage, this is like our kid, pretty much. I mean, it needs constant attention, and you feel guilty when you're away from it. Oh, I should be doing that. So how do you balance that? Or is it grounding to come back to knowing that, okay, I can turn off the filmmaker hat now, and I can be the mom, and I can be grounded in different things now?
I think there's guilt for every mom in all sorts of situations. If you like gave your kid lots of cookies, you feel guilty. You know, like that's unfortunately something that runs through parenthood. And I really fought against feeling guilty, because mostly, you know, speaking for myself, I feel very much, you know, that I'm present in my home. And, you know, yes, we go and shoot over 2 years, maybe for 5 weeks, you know, split up into 5-day increments, but mostly being present. And like Sara said, that I do think it's really important for them to see you doing what you love to do, and that is invaluable for them, and also for yourself. And it makes your parenting better in a way, to be happy doing what you like to do, be like a little bit obsessed with it.
Mm-hmm. I struggle. I think that there's a struggle that happens when you're working super, super intensely, and then being sort of required to drop it or leave it at the door when you walk in is very challenging. And I long for the days before we had email on our phones and text messages and all of that like added stuff, because I think if I had to say like one of the biggest stress factors for me I'm going here with you guys because you're Film Courage, so I'm talking about like the reality of what, you know, I felt like, but that the you know, to be like trying to come home, trying to be normal, and then get like an email message that something was wrong, or that there was some drama that needed to be dealt with right away. It was so stressful. And I think there's probably a neurologist would tell us that there's reasons why, that like being called upon to engage with kids requires a certain kind of focus, and then being called upon by your device to put out some other kind of fire requires a certain kind of focus, and that like the part of us that needs flow, you know, in our experience is so radically disrupted. And then you're probably getting some kind of like hormonal hit every time you get an email in your box and you have an interaction, you know. And so I think there's some place that's very interesting to sort of look at like what are the physical effects, because I feel like my nervous system sort of suffered a lot from that. And I'm trying now to, like, for example, not look at my phone or not look at my email until, you know,
business
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Until, yeah, like, but that's, I mean, because otherwise it's just,
it's maddening.
It's brutal.
Yeah. And there's so many details, obviously, you know. It just never ends. There's a lot of people involved in this film, like, who are a part of it, and there's a lot of just stuff, you know, it's constant. And the way that we've approached sort of the distribution and keeping our hands on it, you know, it's not like we just pass the film off. There's a lot of details and
yeah, I guess all of us
to.
As filmmakers now that we're all, all of us are being required to, you know, we have the great gift of the social media and, you know, Kickstarter and crowdfunding and all of that stuff. But what that means is that you're interacting directly with individuals all over the world electronically all day long. And that has its own kind of like, it can be so sustaining, and it can there's like there's like a sliver of it that can be draining, and like God forbid you get like a hostile email and it just like, you know, so there's that contact comes at like a little bit of a price, I think.
But mostly people, I mean, yes, especially with like, I didn't receive my Kickstarter DVD, you know, and you're just like, oh my God, I'm at the park with my child. How am I going to deal with this? But like, most of the people who have reached out to us have been sort of full of gratitude.
Yeah.
And that is so sustaining. I mean, it really, you know, it makes us feel better. And for all the hard work that we've done, and it's a labor of love, you know, for people to say thank you, it ends up being like, we try, as Sarah said once, we need to figure out how to monetize these.
We have like an imaginary
thank
bank
yous.
account where like thank yous are worth like, you know, $100, and so you just like put your imaginary $100 thank yous in this account.
Anyway, that's, yeah, we probably shouldn't share that. It sounds crazy.